Hi, I'm Jason Leahy, Executive Director of the Illinois Principals Association. Thanks for joining me for this IPA talk, and I'm fortunate to have with me Tim McIlvaine, who is the Director of the Learning Technology Center here in Illinois. So Tim, thanks for jumping on camera with me and being a part of this IPA talk.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. And Tim, we're going to get into some important issues related to cybersecurity and student privacy, data privacy and stuff. I know that's something that you're pretty closely involved with here, working with school districts across the state. But, I think it might be most important here, just as we get started, to let you have an opportunity to talk a little bit about just the work that the Learning Technology Center does overall. I'm not sure everybody, in education is intimately aware of that. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about your work.
We've been around since 1985, and we help school districts with technology support, services, and professional learning. We're primarily funded by the Illinois State Board of Education and have staff statewide. So our work kind of focuses on a few main areas. We consult with school districts on how to adopt and plan for innovative uses of technology. We provide technology support to IT staff and help identify resources. That includes cybersecurity and data privacy. And we do a lot of professional learning with IT staff, but also with administrators and educators and district personnel too.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Now, where then are you based out of?
I'm in Champaign.
Okay. All right. It's very good. So you try to keep yourself centrally located.
I know, it's a good spot.
Yeah. Just get up and down and around. Absolutely. Well, let's get right into a couple of these key issues, Tim. Let's start just with the cybersecurity part first here. I know we know that there have been instances where maybe the best way to put it, school districts have been hacked per se. We know that either through ransomware or malware, whatever. And if I'm misspeaking the terms, please share those with me, because I'm trying to keep myself up to speed on that. But we know that school districts are dealing with these issues now. In fact, hearing about some of the instances around the state, it's even forced us here at IPA to take a step back, take a look, see what we need to be doing with regards to servers and authentication into the systems and trying to protect everything the best that we can. So can you just talk us through a little bit of this issue? When we talk about like ransomware, malware, kinds of things, as a starting point, what is it that districts need to be aware of related to this?
Well, you're right that they need to be concerned and aware. There's a growing number of cybersecurity incidents in the country as well as in the state. Just in December, there was a school district in Texas that had a phishing incident where they shared information over email and they lost $2.3 million.
Oh my!
So there are financial consequences. There are consequences for student data as well.
So let me before we get into all of that, just what do you mean when you say the term phishing? What does that mean?
Phishing is when somebody contacts you via email. They are pretending to be a legitimate corporation or person. They request information that's you should not give out. Sometimes that is passwords. Other times it is social security numbers, a spreadsheet of all your employees. Sometimes it's a person pretending to be a superintendent, and it looks very legitimate.
So sometimes I'll even have my staff here at IPA say, hey, I got this email that is supposedly from you that's like wanting you to on your behalf or for you purchase some maybe gift cards or something. That's pretty normal. Or, hey, I need some help. Can you wire me some money? That kind of thing. So is that kind of what we're discussing here?
Be suspicious.
Right. So what are some of the consequences that districts are dealing with regards to this? Phishing schemes, ransomware, what's happening not only from a financial perspective, but also just purely from a technical perspective?
Well, hopefully school districts have cybersecurity insurance. If you have that, financially, you probably will not be out much because the cybersecurity insurance will pick up a lot of that tab, but it could go upwards to $500,000 if you're dealing with the consequences of replacing machines, of hiring experts to come in to clean your system. With student safety, one of the reasons why school districts are increasingly impacted by cybersecurity attacks or incidents is because student data is valuable. They do not have a credit history, which means that they are prime targets for people who want to take that data and apply for credit cards or things like that.
Interesting. Interesting. So bringing the student security part into this then, Tim, I mean, what is it that school districts need to be considering? What do they need to be doing to protect kids? Because, for my own kids that go to the Chatham School District here, they're a Google school. I think by far and large, the majority of districts are that use that. They have their own Google email accounts. What do schools need to consider in order to keep kids safe?
I think there are really three main things. The first one is pretty simple, but it's battle the false sense of security. It is not a matter of if you will be hacked. It's just a matter of when. So once you have that mindset, the next steps are easier. Be proactive. That's proactive on an individual level as well as a district level. So individually, make sure your passwords are secure. 7-character password can be hacked in a millisecond.
Wow.
A 12-character password can take up to a century to hack.
Yeah.
Have two-factor authentication where you have a text message as well as a password, and you have to sign in with both. Do simple things like don't pick up a USB drive that's in the parking lot. There's no reason to use something like that. That's a primary.
So do people actually do that?
Yes.
Somebody's just driving along and says, "I'm going to see what happens," and throw
Teachers
this.
love free things.
Yeah.
So it's
well, that's true. I think we all do.
They do. Yeah.
I understand that.
Yep. So that's on an individual level. On a district-wide level, you have to form a cybersecurity team, a group of people to look into it. And it's not just IT staff, because cybersecurity is not just a technology problem. It's a team problem. It's a human problem.
Right.
Most cybersecurity incidents involve humans at some level, whether you click on something you shouldn't click on, you share information you shouldn't share. So form a team, train your staff. That is essential. And we've been working with IPA and ELN to do a cybersecurity awareness training.
Right.
Should be launching soon. So
yeah,
that's one
Matt
place
Jacobson's been a part of that. We've been working with the Department of Information Technology here in the state of Illinois with that, which has been exciting for us. So we obviously ask people to be sure to check that out and appreciate the partnership there with it. So obviously just trying to keep people aware, be mindful of best practices. I guess another thing that I'm curious about, just from a governance perspective, Tim, is and this might have to do not only with security but back with student privacy. What do school districts need to do with regards to policies and procedures that they might need to have either at the board or the building level? I know you hear about laws that are being passed even in Europe with regards to really trying to clamp down on privacy kinds of things. I know that you guys at the LTC are monitoring that closely, and just so from those perspectives, what can school districts do to make sure that they've got in place just when it comes to their own policies, but then from those policies communicating to parents what they're doing to make sure that their kids are protected at school?
Right, and you obviously need acceptable use policies and follow a lot of the policies that are in the press. Those are good places to start. Illinois is following other states and implementing stricter data privacy rules. Then August was passed SOPA, the Student Online Personal Protection Act, where in July 1st, 2021, school districts are going to have to disclose all the data breaches that happen. And they're going to have policies on who could sign contracts and who can share data, and be very transparent about what data is being shared. So
would that have to do, let's just maybe use one of the most common things that you would have student data available would be your school database systems, right? So would you have to be disclosing that type of information, and would that include the kinds of information that you're storing then in that database?
The kind of information you're storing or the vendor storing and why they're storing it.
Got it. Because so many of those services anymore are cloud-based services, right? And so obviously they're transmitting not only on the school district server, I would guess, but they're probably also being passed, obviously encrypted, so hopefully safely, then to the servers of these databases, be it PowerSchool or
and
others that are out there.
A lot of school districts feel, or at least IT staff feel, like they are protected when it's cloud-based because they're not responsible for the data, the company is.
Right.
But with the new legislation that's coming down the pipe, or was signed, the school district is liable to.
So everybody's on the hook.
Yeah, everybody's
now,
on the
as far
hook.
as
It's
that
everybody's
goes.
responsibility.
Very good. Now, I want to circle back. You mentioned insurance here, so I don't want to lose sight of that. Could you name that again?
Cybersecurity Insurance.
So what does that usually cover then? That is it that if there's let's say a ransomware attack, school district said, hey, somebody attacks, shuts down a school district system, says for $2 million we'll flip the switch and turn everything back on. Does the insurance cover that, or does it just cover people then physically coming in and trying to restore the systems, replace hardware? What is that? What's that insurance usually taking care of?
They'll usually advise you not to pay the ransom.
Okay.
And the FBI will advise you the same thing.
Yeah.
So they cover whether it's a team of experts to come in, they'll provide experts sometimes, replacement for hard drives or servers. It really depends on the insurance company, but they cover a lot of the mitigation costs.
Absolutely. Well, that's good to know. And you mentioned the FBI. I mean, my gut tells me is that if a district is sensing any problems related to someone trying to hack their systems or trying to do something that's unsafe with the staff or with kids, that it makes a lot of sense maybe to get the authorities involved. Right. Correct?
Yeah, definitely. And when you think about it, there's usually one person who notices that there's a problem first, and that person, should disconnect the device or the computer, but then the next step is assess the damage and communicate with the people you need to communicate with, your cabinet, district leadership, authorities when appropriate, cybersecurity insurance, because a lot of the work of a school district is the proactive before an event happens. Yeah. After an event happens, that's when the authorities will help guide you along and kind of what you need to do.
Right. So my feeling is, Tim, is that if people have questions with regards to policies, the insurance, if they are suspect of something that's happening locally, if they need to know who it is that they're going to call with regards to the authorities, any of that as a resource, they could call the LTC and get access to that information because you guys have that readily available.
Yes.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, appreciate you being here, helping us kind of work through some of these important issues related to cybersecurity as well as keeping our kids safe at school. Tim McIlvaine, Director of the Learning Technology Center. Appreciate you being here with me.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thank you again for joining us for this IPA talk. For all related information and links, be sure to check out the description below. My name is Jason Leahy, Executive Director of the Illinois Principals Association. If there's anything that the IPA can do for you, don't hesitate to check us out on the web at ilprincipals.org. Take care.